Yo, what's going on, guys? We're here to talk about FISSURE Playground as the second iteration of this new tournament format is ongoing this week. We're going to keep an eye on things, do our group stage recap into playoffs as per usual, but as the first day is ongoing and wrapping up, I want to put one thing out there. I think FISSURE Playground 2 is an opportunity that the Falcons specifically cannot waste. With the titular big three of Vitality, Spirit, and Mouse not in attendance, that leaves the top four power teams in this format as the Mongols, now G2, Furia, and of course, the Falcons. So I would go so far to say that the Falcons don't make a deep run here at FP2, we should be seriously concerned about the future of this roster that has all the makings of being a top contending team, but has so far failed to deliver that in any meaningful form. If you guys enjoy this kind of content, you can show me by leaving a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel already, help me hit 10k subs by the end of the year. Also, follow me on twitch.tv/LionHeartZ2. Later today, when this video is up, I'll be streaming Borderlands 4 with my brother Justin. Drop on over, give me a follow, help me get to 1,000 followers there soon. And lastly, before we get started, I would like to thank today's sponsor. This video is sponsored by SkinsMonkey, a CS2 trading website. You put in the skins that you want to trade, you select what you want, you use my code LionHeartZ for up to $5 off, or click the top link in the description, and boom, new drip.
Nice.
You can also use my code for a 35% deposit bonus if you want to buy with real money. And they have a free section with cool giveaways. So check the top link in the description, use my code to buy 15 Dragon Lores to let them know I sent you their way, and thank you to SkinsMonkey for sponsoring this video. First things first, let's start current then back out. Today, in their opening match in FISSURE Playground 2, the Falcons smoked the now Perfecto-led Virtus.pro 2-0. They held VP to just 3 total round wins, and along the way, Kioske and Munisi specifically looked very, very hot. Niko had a very uncharacteristically, or maybe now characteristically, slow series. But other than that, this is about as good of a start as you could have projected for Falcons. We're coming off about a 2-ish week break since the Esports World Cup. They look fresh, they look engaged, and Kioske and Munisi led the way from the front, which is what you wanted. Some good supporting moments from Tessus and Kicksan. Niko was better on Mirage than he was Ancient. It's fine. You blitz them. VP, they're a nothing roster. I don't think Perfecto's going to become a good IGL. That's neither here nor there. The point is, they didn't make it painful, and that's the best possible start they could have gotten. And going forward into tomorrow's 1-0 matchup, it looks like right now they are projected to play Tyloo. But keep in mind, the brackets aren't official. HLTV gives you kind of a generative bracket as it goes. So right now, it's speculatively Tyloo. And if that's the case, then I do favor Falcons in that series, which means right now, they're on a great trajectory to have a good shot to go 3-0 in this groups, which to me feels absolutely essential for this team's motivation and their momentum. The bottom line is, the Falcons have done nothing if not struggle since the introduction of Kioske, and you can argue a few months before that since Munisi has joined the lineup. They have failed to land in the way everyone expected, with Niko most specifically taking a noticeable dip in performance, especially in must-win games. What's weird about Niko is when you dive into the stats, it's not like things are terrible, but dude, you go back and you compare where Niko was just last year to now, and the 9-day difference is insane. This time last year at LAN, Niko was averaging a 1.29 rating, and that's adjusted to rating 3.0. This is not his older ratings. That's what his stats would be under the current system. And that is top 5 player in the world behavior. That's where Niko was. To now, he's just an also ran 1.10, and he's even worse on the CT sides. Niko's drop-off hasn't just been noticeable, it's been precipitous. Now listen, Niko is also an older player. He's definitely going to be aging out of his prime, if not right now, eventually. So I don't need Niko to put up 1.29 ratings for this team to succeed. You have Kioske, you have Munisi, you have firepower elsewhere, but Niko does need to raise his average levels because what I see when I look a little deeper is just inconsistency. Niko will have maps where he's just on and he's playing like Niko, and then maps where he goes terribly missing to the absolute detriment of this team, where he won't just put up bad stats, he'll put up horrible stats like 0.7s, 0.8s, even 0.6s against the Mongols. Niko needs to find a way to find a bit more consistency and raise the level of his floor to meet what his top end already is. And I just want to get ahead of this because someone just tried to actually me on Twitter over this. I understand that Kioske is taking a lot of the star spots that Niko used to take. Niko was also this bad before Kioske joined. So yes, he's lost some of his spots and resources, but he is still massively regressed. Niko needs to be more consistent because yes, Kioske and Munisi are the stars, but Niko is still Niko. He needs to have Niko impact. Like right now, the core identity for the Falcons needs to be Niko raising his floor and m0NESY getting back to being a top 5 player in the world. Kiosuke is clearly already there. He's already good enough. It's now on the job of the 2 other multi-million-dollar players to play like multi-million-dollar players. And where I really think we need to see this improvement actually comes from the CT sides. If you take one layer further into the stats, and obviously stats don't tell everything, but I think the eye test also bears this out, Falcons are just noticeably worse on their CT sides than their T sides. They have a lot of very aggressive, hyper aggro players, and they just don't seem to have that same kind of impact on the CT side of play. And so you have situations where m0NESY is their highest rated player on T side for these last 3 months. He's middle of the road on CT. Niko is much better on the T sides than he is on the CT side. Same thing with Kiosuke and TeSeS to a certain extent. We are already in the middle of a CT sided meta. T sides are only going down in value, so the Falcons can't find a way to restructure and reposition themselves in a way that best maximizes their talents. They're going to keep losing very winnable games. And this is just totally speculation on my part. I feel like the part that holds back the Falcons the most is the mental. And obviously we all know that Niko has been a notorious rager for his entire career, but it seems like Niko has lost the ability to spin back in when he is crashing out of games. And it just seems to kind of affect the vibe of the team because, you know, whether we like to acknowledge it or not, Kicksan is not exactly a leader of men at the best of times, and he's certainly not the dominant voice in an environment with Zonic, Niko, m0NESY, and Kicksan. So I don't know if there's anybody else on this team that can kind of check things down and right the ship when things start to go wrong. It feels like what Falcons might need most of all is a true captain of the team, and I don't know who that's going to be. Because again, Niko is a rage monster. I don't know if he has the wherewithal to be that guy. So who do you turn to when things are getting tough and you need a massive round win? Who is going to find the right play, the right opening, or simply say the right things to help keep people focused and locked in? I really don't have an answer for that. I mean, it could be m0NESY, but I feel like m0NESY is more so leading from like what he does in the server. He'll go out and win a massive clutch, and that'll be what reaffirms the troops and locks you guys back in. I don't see him, being such a young guy himself, having the right words in a timeout to right the ship in that way. I'm not saying that every team needs vibes to succeed. I mean, look no further than Team Spirit. They are negative vibes. They are a vibe void, and they still win. But I don't know. I guess you do need some amount. You need to be like somewhere in the middle. To bring this video to an end, I want to focus on one last topic. And that's this concept of, can the weight of expectations be too much? Because when you look at the Falcons from the outside looking in, what do you have? You have probably the most expensive roster ever constructed in the history of CS. You have 3 star players, who some of which are some of the best players of all time in the case of Niko, some of the best players of today in m0NESY, and someone who will probably be one of the best players of tomorrow in Kiosuke. In terms of expectations, everyone's expecting Falcons to strictly get better after Magisk was cut, because, you know, obviously, earlier this year, they were one of the only teams that could contend Vitality deep into best of 5s at the height of their era, and so far, they've failed to even get back to those lofty heights, even though their roster on paper is so much more better. I can only speculate the amount of pressure that this team must exist under to succeed at every turn. Is FISSURE Playground a Tier 1 tournament a must-win prestige event? No, but because of that, Falcons should be considered by default the strongest team in the field, other than, again, teams like the Mongols and maybe Furia. You look at everyone else, and Falcons should be the favorite. Even a team like G2, who just won a huge event, on paper, you would assume the Falcons are better. m0NESY is better than Sunpius. Kiosuke is better than Malbs. Niko should be better than Heavy God still. But if they played in a best of 3 or a best of 5 tomorrow, I think many people, myself included, would take G2 to win that series every single time, because the cohesion, the feeling of being a team is just so much stronger within G2 versus the Falcons. I just have to wonder if at a certain point, the thing that's going to fail this team the most is that they were supposed to be great from the start. Every time they lose, it's held against them. Every time they lose, they get laughed at. Every time they fall short, people remind them of their massive salaries, what they are supposed to be. This was the super team built to be a super team. I don't think it's going to succeed in that effort because of the weight of those expectations. So if that's the case, what would be the breaking point? What would be the we need to make a roster move moment for this team? And it feels like inevitably where we're heading is that it's not going to be TeSeS, it's going to be Kicksan, or maybe even Zonic that are sacrificed next. It feels like you're never getting rid of Niko, you're certainly not getting rid of Munisi or Kiosuke anytime soon, so someone has to be next. The way that the Falcons operate necessitate that this team isn't going to have 6 months to grow. If things don't work soon, they're going to find another piece that might, or they think will. Which brings me back to my point at the beginning of the video. This is the tournament that the Falcons need to show us something. This is the event where they need to strike out and possibly even win, or else people are going to keep poking holes and the weight of expectations will only grow heavier. Right now, they're at the bottom of the mountain. The question is, how many more times can the Falcons roll this boulder up before they even get close to seeing the summit? We'll just have to wait and see. If you guys enjoy this kind of coverage, you can show them by leaving a like and a comment below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Help me to 10K subs by the end of the year. Also, check the top link in the description. You go to trade on their website over at SkinsMonkey. It lets them know I sent you their way. Thank you to SkinsMonkey for sponsoring this video. Shout out to my channel members: JesseTiv, Milan Berta, Bubblesj, Dr. Cocktor, Patatas Kaftesi, BTR, Milan Berta, Cody Foxworthy, JesseTiv, Vegt, I'm Flashbase, Somi White, Rowdy, LBKcs, Snax Enjoyer, zerotwocs, drudenae, chron, Gano, Zyro, Devvrat Singh, and Clyde Mead. If you want to remember to do so, thanks for setting up 5 minutes, make the video just this. Go follow me on Twitter and LionHeartZ too, and I'll see you guys soon in another video. Peace.